Knowles on the News. Susan Knowles.
So were you one of those that in the first couple of days of the DNC, you were able to get through any of it? I have to be perfectly honest. I watched, the first couple of hours, perhaps. I don't even know if it was hours. I really don't want to stretch it out to that. I watched a little bit of Bernie's speech. I watched a little bit of Elizabeth Warren's speech. Thankfully, I did not watch Michelle Obama's speech. I don't think that I could have gotten through had I been able to even look at it for 5 seconds. I don't know about you, but I've heard nothing but lies coming out of the mouths of those people. I mean, it's really horrible to think what they're doing is probably resonating with a number of people out there. And I heard somebody talking about this yesterday on a talk show, that if you're one of those people who really is not involved in politics, you're just kind of going to work and coming home and just trying the best that you can to get through. And you just sit down because it's time to eat or, whatever the case may be, and you turn on the TV and you think, well, I'm just going to look at the DNC for a couple of minutes, see what's going on. And you hear what they're saying. And it just sounds like the Republican Party is the worst party that ever walked the face of the planet. That all that the Republicans are trying to do is hurt people, take things away from people, cheat people, get rich, and anything else bad that you want to think of. And what's always so interesting is that the people who are saying that, the people who are standing there with the audacity to talk about rich people and how taking money out of your pockets, are so filthy rich themselves. And it's the audacity, the hypocrisy of what they're doing is really amazing. And you just wonder how much longer it's going to be before somebody who's sitting in front of the TV thinking that they're hearing great stuff coming out of the DNC, are they ever going to really realize that it's all been a lie, that they've been lied to, that the Democratic Party is not who they say they are? They're not the people that they used to be way back when, long time ago, maybe the 60s. And, will that change their minds? I don't know if they'll go over to the Republican Party. I really don't. And I don't know if it will change their minds because, again, if you're sitting there and you're not really that involved and you're listening to what they're saying with the DNC, you're thinking, wow, these are great people. They're uplifting. Everybody's clapping. Everybody's happy, except for those chants in the back. And I'm just not really sure what those chants in the background really are about. We trusted you. We trusted you when it came to Elizabeth Warren. I don't know how involved people really are. I think a lot of people just absolutely hate politics, and they just try to stay out of it as much as possible. And sometimes I think that may be the better thing to do. But we have a serious issue, of course, here in this election. I don't know what people are going to do. I don't think the Bernie supporters, who are absolutely furious right now at the fact that their person was denied, and you have to look at that, and you know that he was set up from the very beginning. He was denied. The emails don't lie, even though the Democrats, I heard somebody, oh my gosh, the woman who took Debbie Wasserman Schultz's place, Donna Brazil, I think was something like that, it was her name, standing there talking, giving an interview, trying to imply, and I don't know if anybody else caught this, but she was trying to imply, these emails have been hacked, and implying that perhaps maybe they had been changed or altered in some way. But I guess that's why, they've been changed or altered, and that's why she went to Bernie and said, I'm sorry about what I said to you, because God only knows I wanted that just to be behind your back and not released out in public. So I'll go ahead and apologize. Why not get rid of her too? Seriously, why not get rid of everybody there who obviously are all pulling for Hillary, probably because they like life and they want to stay happy and healthy. So they're going for Hillary. And Bernie, his supporters are even, getting mad at Bernie now because why? Because Bernie sold out. Unlike Ted Cruz, Bernie got up and said, "Oh, I think you must vote for Hillary. She's going to be the best president this world has ever seen." While he knows he didn't believe that. But perhaps again, Bernie was persuaded, Bernie, are you really enjoying life? Because we really want you to continue doing that. And this will be the best for all of us. Just go ahead, tell the crowd what they need to hear about Hillary and how wonderful she is, and we'll let bygones be bygones. And, the emails, let's not talk about those anymore. All right? That's over. That's done with. You won't be able to come back in 4 years and try again because you're going to be pretty old by that time. You already are, Bernie, and it's going to be too late for you, but that's okay. That's okay because, you see, we've promised this to Hillary for so many years, and she's running out of time, too. She's not a spring chicken, as you know. And so you're just going to need to step aside and let Hillary take it from here. But thanks for the show. Thanks for coming out. And good job, Bernie. Good job. You just, I don't know. You look at that and you look at what's happening. One of my most favorite things, I will have to say, and it wasn't from watching the DNC, but it was watching somebody who had posted on, I think, Facebook, but it may have been my Twitter feed, a guy who was at the DNC, and this was after it had been announced that Hillary was the presidential nominee for the Democrats. And he panned his camera around, and I'm telling you, the room was empty. There were so many empty seats. It was amazing. But of course, what the camera was going to pick up for the major media outlets was the fact that the New York delegates had been placed strategically, I'm sure, down close to the stage and that glass wall that they have. So when the camera is panning around for everybody else in the world to see, they're going to see, oh my gosh, look at all those people. They're jumping up and down. They're so excited for Hillary. They love her. Maybe I should get on board too, because she seems like such a wonderful, wonderful person. And she's a grandmother too, don't you? I mean, how great is that? But the reality is there's nobody there. Everybody's like, oh my God, okay, you know what? This has been a bust for all of us. It really has. I mean, there's so much corruption. Even I can't handle it with it, as a Democrat delegate. I mean, come on. But Hillary, I heard part of her speech and how wonderful it is for her to finally be breaking that glass ceiling, perhaps. And that's where I think everybody has to get together and make sure that she doesn't break that glass ceiling, that perhaps we take that hammer away from her and sickle. No, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Hammer away from her to break that glass ceiling in whatever way that can legally be done. Because I think that Hillary is not in it for this country, as we all know. She's in it for Hillary. And Bill, who stood up and gave his, oh gosh, I just love this woman speech. I hope somebody had written that for him. It was probably written for him by Hillary herself. Like, okay, Bill, you're going to go out here and this is what you're going to say. You're going to have a smile on your face. You're going to be able to lie like you did with Monica Lewinsky. But this time, you're going to be talking about how great everything's been with me for the last, what has it been, 100 years? Whatever. And he went out, from what I heard, and he delivered. And I've heard clips of it. Again, there's no way that I could have sat there and listened to that. But I think one of the pictures of the night has to be when Hillary Clinton and Cecile Richards from Planned Parenthood stood side by side in their matching blue outfits, holding each other's hand in the air. You know, all that was missing from that free marketing and advertising promotion for Planned Parenthood there was, in my opinion, a statue, hologram, whatever, of Margaret Sanger. You know, that would have just been perfect. That would have capped off a perfect picture of the three women who are pro-abortion, want to kill black babies. That's Margaret Sanger, made that very clear. She wanted to kill black babies because she felt they were inferior. And let's say the truth here. I'm not going to mince words. I'm done with political correctness. That's exactly what it was. And for all the African Americans who may be listening, you've got this person that may be representing you who received the Margaret Sanger Award and has talked about how much she admires Margaret Sanger. I'm sorry. If you're admiring somebody who has killed black babies and is very proud of it and has been instrumental in killing them, meaning through abortion, I don't think she did the abortions herself, but she was instrumental in getting that Planned Parenthood going and you know, continues on today, obviously. But if you are supporting someone who supports abortion, where the African American population is really well represented there with the killing of black babies, I don't know how you sleep at night. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how you sleep at night. If you want to find somebody who's done something to hurt your race and you want to be angry at someone, then perhaps you should be angry at Margaret Sanger and her contribution to Planned Parenthood and allowing that organization to be funded and continue to go forward, where predominantly minorities, especially black babies, are still aborted. I don't know. Maybe you don't know those statistics. Maybe you should go look them up. But it's something that you should take note of. And don't take my word for it. Look at Dr. Alveda King. Go check out her website. She very much knows what's going on. She very much knows what Planned Parenthood does in aborting babies, and especially African American babies still. Because you're the one that's predominantly affected. And again, these Planned Parenthood organizations plant themselves right in neighborhoods where African Americans, Hispanics normally are. And I guess that's just a coincidence, right? But no, they're just trying to make it convenient for you because, after all, what they do is they help women and help women get birth control and help women, whatever other thing that they say. If you want to believe it, you go right ahead. We have a mess out there. I can tell you the DNC, watching that and seeing all going on and just knowing again that the majority of the people are buying what they're saying at the DNC is really bad. And people are saying, well, I haven't seen a single flag there at the DNC. My response is, well, first, somebody has to tell them what the American flag is. Secondly, where do you buy one? And what do we do with it after we get it? I'm, of course, being sarcastic, but it's probably not too far from the truth. And after all, we can't have an American flag. Come on, people. We can't have an American flag at the DNC. We might tick off the Muslim Brotherhood. That's not their flag. Come on. We also might make ISIS mad. That's not their flag. And we might make anybody else in America mad that doesn't like America, and why should they? So why should we have American flags at the DNC? Again, I said I wasn't going to be politically correct, and I'm not going to be. I think they're embarrassed of their country. They're embarrassed of their flag. They want to tick off the Americans, but they don't mind doing that. But God forbid that we make anybody else, we hurt anybody else's feelings, or we make somebody else mad. Well, and after all, look how much money comes in from foreign countries. We can't make anybody mad, right? We have got to toe the line here. Don't be proud of your own country. Oh, come on. What's wrong with you? Be proud of everybody else's country but your own, right? Isn't that the message that you're sending by not putting American flags at the DNC, by not having anybody talk about ISIS and terrorism at the DNC? I mean, I'm surprised. The only thing missing, and maybe it was there, because again, I didn't watch most of the DNC, and it's still going on, God forbid, but where were the anti-Second Amendment posters? Now, I'm surprised that those weren't all over the convention hall. Seriously. Instead of the American flag, why didn't they have something from the NRA with a line through it? Meaning like no NRA, no guns, no anything, no Second Amendment, no constitutional rights. Whatever. I would be more apt to think that that would have been there instead of the American flag. It's painful just to see where our country is. It's painful to see what Americans are going through. We're very divided. We're not only divided between two parties, we're divided within the parties themselves. People are struggling to figure out what to do in this election, who to vote for. It's not as easy as people would like for you to believe in saying, well, you've got to vote for this one, or you put a vote for that one if you don't. It's not that easy. People are guided by principle, by the morals, by God-given principles, and they just don't know what to do. Nobody on the conservative side, at least, wants to have Hillary Clinton be the president. But they want to assure that who is going into the White House on the conservative side really is who he says he is and means what he says. And, again, we need a uniter. We need Donald Trump to unite people. Let me just say this. There are some areas, and I've said this all along, there are some areas that he needs to work on and he needs to make changes on. And he's got all of these spiritual leaders around him, right? All of these people laid hands on him and said, we prayed with him, he's a new Christian, we just need to give him more time. Okay, all you pastors who are out there doing that, why don't you spend more time with Donald? Why don't you talk to him about what's important, about unification, about being honest, being who you say you are? Read to him some Christian principles, biblical principles. Make sure, and this should be for any candidate, and make sure that they are doing and believing what they say they're doing and say they're believing. That, again, should be for any candidate. And I know it doesn't matter, not everybody's a Christian. I get that. Okay. But for the people, the majority of people still who are Christian, it is important. There are some Christians who have said, it's not important. I'm not going to let that hold me up. But there are others who are struggling with it. And I think that all the pastors, again, who came forward in the past, just recently, and said, this is the guy. Okay, then help him. Be there with him. Guide him. Talk to him. If he reached out, or whoever reached out before, reach out again. Because it's important. And I don't know if that would sway anyone. I don't know. But I think that no matter who the candidate is in the future, You have to have the party unite, and you've got to get all the votes that you can possibly get. And by ticking people off, saying they're not needed, by continuing to go after Ted Cruz, let Ted Cruz go, Donald. He's not in the election. Let's focus on the election, and let's let Ted Cruz go. You don't have time to be mad at everyone and going after everyone who you don't like, Cruz and Kasich. Let them go. Let them go. Move forward. And let's focus on what needs to be done. Let's focus on making sure that our character as a human being is exactly what needs to be, where it needs to be president of the United States. I mean, we attack Hillary's character all the time. And there's a lot there to attack. So let's make sure that we, in our character, and I'm saying this for about Donald Trump, is the most upstanding character. Now, is he perfect? No, he's not. None of us are. Can he change? Can there be, let's say it this way, can there be improvements? Should there be? Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. So, I don't know if it's too little, too late. I don't know where it's going. And perhaps Donald Trump feels that his character and everything that he has done so far is absolutely where it needs to go and where it needs to be. And if that's the case, so be it. There are plenty of people that are happy with Donald Trump, feel that he is the one, and that he's the one that is going to lead the United States of America. I honestly think that he has a very good chance of winning. I know people are saying that it's going to be, some people are saying it's going to be a landslide for Hillary. Trump doesn't have a chance. I don't feel that way. I really think that Trump may be able to take the whole thing. And it'll be what it is going to be. Whatever happens, whoever gets in. I know we all think that we have a lot of control over what's going to happen, and we really don't. And that's, I think, the one thing that we need to realize. We are not in control. And I know there are some people out there who totally disagree with me and feel that, what are you talking about? Of course we're in control. We'll vote for whoever, we'll get whomever in that we want, and then we'll be in control of our destiny and what happens in the country. I disagree. It doesn't work that way. We can do the best that we can. We can do the best in following the principles that I feel that are laid out for us, and those who are believers, some who are not. This is not pertaining to you, but those who are believers, our principles are laid out for us, and we need to follow them as closely as we can. We need to humble ourselves, as I've heard many people say, and most recently on my show with guest Bill Cloud. You have to humble yourself before God. That's what's going to bring the nation back to where it needs to be, not where it was before. Because I think even before we were starting to slip, and the reason we were starting to slip is because we weren't focused on God anymore. We just decided, hey, we got this. We don't need you. Go in the background, and we'll call you when we need you. And I think that we do that, myself included. We call on God when we need something. And then the other times it's like, whatever. And you think about, the next job promotion, the next car you're going to get, where you're going to vacation for the summer, that type of thing. We've got to get focused right back on God. And we are a blessed nation. We have been. And I don't know about you, but the way I'm feeling is our blessings are getting fewer and farther between. We've been given opportunities to take the right path, do the right thing, and we're not doing them. And our blessings, I'm just saying, they don't seem as abundant as they used to be. And that's not God's fault. That's ours. And I said this on my recent show, I don't know if people remember a lot in this society today how to be humble. We're not taught to be humble. We are taught to go out there, kick butt, take names, and just mow people down for the most part. And that's not everybody. And that's a lot of that is kind of like the business mentality. But we're and for some of that, it's good. We've got to have some of that. We've got to be independent and we've got to be aggressive in certain ways. But when we're like that a lot, and we don't have balance, then we forget what it's like to be humble. And I don't know about you, but have you ever asked God to humble you, make you a humble person? Whew, I did that one time, and you know what? Man, I paid the price for that. God will give you sometimes what you ask for because it's what you need. And it was tough. I don't want to have to ask him too much to do that for me because I don't want to go through that again. But I think that we have to realize that, again, these elections are just one part of what's going on in the world. I mean, if you're looking at other things too, what's happening around the world, the priest being beheaded, what's happened in the nightclubs, different nightclubs recently. In Germany, I saw this thing where a video where a pregnant woman was bludgeoned to death with a machete by one of the most recent, it said, most recent Syrian refugee into Germany. You know, I don't know about you, but if I were the German people, I don't know how Merkel could still be in office. I mean, I don't know the laws in Germany and how you get people out of office like that, but I'll tell you what, I'd be working on getting her out of office, no matter what she says. Now, we're going to start looking at things differently and maybe do a tougher vetting process. Whew. I would do a recall, whatever you have to do to get that woman out. She has acted to destroy her country. I don't know if her country is going to be destroyed, but she's been instrumental in helping it get that way. And maybe people are just, I don't know, maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't think, well, it's not going to happen to me, so I don't really care. I don't know. From what I've seen, people in Germany are getting pretty upset, as they should be. And elsewhere. You know, with women walking down the street, supposedly, and getting raped because they happen to be walking down the street. And supposedly these are people, ISIS, people who believe in Islam, that don't agree with women having any part of their body, I guess, being seen. So there are a lot of things that are happening that, for me, I can see those as signs that God's blessing is his hand is being removed off of not only our country at times, but the world. And a lot of it, we're causing it ourselves because we are not humbling ourselves before God. So if you're going to watch the rest of the DNC, God help you. I hope to not be watching any of it. I hope to allow my brain to kind of just kind of be cleansed of all that stuff and get back on other things that kind of need to be looked at. You know, in other news today, I don't know if you saw that the remaining officers in the Freddie Gray case have had all the charges dropped against them. You know, I mean, it really irritates me so bad to know that the state's attorney, Mosby, all the hoopla over her coming out and saying, oh, this is for you, we're going to go after these people, bringing all the charges against them, knowing that, or should have known, in my opinion, that there was no criminal intent. But basically, she was doing it for her own political reasons, for her own personal reasons, to make sure there weren't any riots. I don't know. But this has been a colossal waste for the people of Baltimore and the taxes that they pay. More importantly, it's been a colossal waste and just, oh my God, I can't even find the right word for what it's done to these officers' lives. And you may say, well, Freddie Gray's dead, and maybe they should have gone through that. Well, see, here's the point. Freddie Gray is dead for whatever reasons those were, whether it wasn't buckled in properly or whatever. I don't think that's really been decided. But maybe somebody didn't do what they should have done and buckle him in properly. And I don't know if that's true. Then what were the reasons? I don't know. But these people, these officers, have just, their careers, their lives, their whole personal beings, have been negatively impacted because this one particular woman and whoever else put her up to it, I don't know if there were other people or if just her own decision, decided that she was going to go out and level some bogus charges. I mean, it has to be when you've got 6 officers and, 3 that went through trials and they were all the charges, they were acquitted, and now you have the remaining, they're saying, well, we're going to drop that too. Come on. Does anybody else see that these were bogus? That these charges were just brought because? And I think, honestly, the Bar Association should look into what she's done. They won't, because she was probably acting within the scope of her duty. But I think it's such a shame. And the fact, too, that $6 million was already paid out to the Freddie Gray family when nothing was ever decided. They didn't even have one criminal trial. And I'm sure, the city probably thought, maybe this was pushed through just to another political reason. But they went ahead and they settled, and probably settling and saying you can't bring civil action. But I said from the very beginning, if there was anything about this case at all, it was a civil action. It was never criminal negligence, never criminal intent, nothing like that. And now, I guess what I was saying was true. I didn't have all the facts, and I kind of said I'm going to reserve my thoughts on that because I don't have all the facts. But I said it was my belief that there was possibly a civil action, but I couldn't find anything that was criminal about what they did. And her being the state's attorney, she knew that. She absolutely knew that. And then to pay out that much money when who knows if they would have said, okay, well, you did do something wrong, and he should have been buckled in. That's the wrong that you did, not criminal wrong, but civil wrong. And so we're going to award $300,000 or whatever. I mean, $6 million seems like a lot. How did you come up with that figure? And probably they just decided, oh, look how bad this looks. We had 6 officers involved. This black man was killed. There's been other recent cases. We'd better settle this. Let's give them a big amount so they won't come back and try to sue us for anything else again. And let's just go ahead and get rid of these people. And that's what they did. And again, the people of Baltimore should try to get Miss Mosby out of her job and into, I don't know, whatever other job she can do that doesn't bring about this much harm to the taxpayers of Baltimore. I know her husband, what is he running for? Some other position. It seemed like such a conflict of interest, but does it really matter in Baltimore? Does it really matter when you're a Democrat? I mean, really. But I don't think she'll be hurting. And probably she has higher aspirations. It would not surprise me to see her running for some political office. And this whole thing about Freddie Gray will just be swept underneath the carpet, just like what happened with Bernie Sanders. Because, you see, when you're a Democrat, it's okay that you may have to take the fall. Because you're going to be rewarded one way or the other. And you know that you're supporting the higher cause. The higher cause being what the Democrats' agenda is at the time. And you know what? You're just going to have to take the fall. And because it's America, because people forget practically the next day what happened, you'll be just fine. And then you can come back. I mean, my gosh, look at Hillary. If anybody needs an example, all of the things that she's been accused of in her history, in her background, Whitewater, the email scandals, China, whatever. And look, she just got nominated as the Democrat candidate for president. So, really, it's not over. It's never over when you're a Democrat. You can do whatever, and typically you'll get through it. And who knows? Wonder what Bernie may have been promised. Do you think Bernie's been promised anything, or is it just like, burn, if you just go away and let that flame burn out, we'll give you some maybe extra cash for your people and your state. We'll give you some extra cash. We'll send you on some speaking engagements. You're really good at firing up the crowd, Bernie. So we'll send you out and do things like that. But we need for you to take the fall. Because we've got this agenda here. We're working really hard at getting this pushed through, and we're almost there. We just have to win this thing. So take the fall, Bern. Take the fall. And really, isn't that kind of how politics on the Democrat side has always been? It really has. It's politics, it's just a fiasco. I don't know about you. I think there are one or two people in politics that I would actually say that I could halfway trust what they're saying. And the only person I think who's trying to get in politics in Florida that I could say I wholeheartedly trust is Dan Bongino. Other than that, I don't know. I can't think of one where I would say I absolutely, positively trust what you're saying. It's so difficult. And it's become more and more difficult over time. People, I don't know. It's almost like in politics, and I know it's always been this way in politics, but it's worse. It really is worse. Things have gotten so bad. I remember here Duke Cunningham. Everybody believed him. Randy Duke Cunningham, Congressman Randy Duke Cunningham, Republican, ex-military guy. Everybody looked up to him, and everybody believed him. And then he went and committed all the fraud that he committed, ended up in prison, losing everything. And most importantly, losing the respect of people who absolutely trusted him. And this happened in San Diego. And his wife, devastated. And everything that she had because of what he had, wiped away. And I don't think she knew anything about it. I think she was totally naive to what was going on, and maybe that's her fault. I don't know. I don't think so. I think she should be able to trust her husband, whether she should have or not. It should go without saying that she should be able to trust him. But even again, there you go. You can't trust people in politics, I guess, even if you're married to them. You just have to keep one eye open and wondering, what are you going to do to me? You don't mind doing something to the nation and hurting the nation. What are you going to do to me? I don't know how these people sleep at night. I really don't. Because I guess they forget that one day there's going to be someone else that they have to account to. And maybe that's, again, not wanting to see what's there and what's coming and what realities are because it's too hard to take. And let's just go ahead and enjoy the world while we're here, and let's not have a care in the world. Let's just do whatever we want to. We'll worry about tomorrow when tomorrow comes. We need a change in our political system in who we're bringing in to the political system. We need to start electing people who are trustworthy. I hope Dan Bongino gets elected in Florida. I really do. I mean, I think Dan would go in there and kick butt. I really do. He is a no-nonsense guy. He has seen this, being the Secret Service agent that he was, and I think he was in the military and a police officer for a while. He's seen all the garbage that there is to see. He knows how politics work, and he's not going to be easily fooled. And we need people like him that can represent America. You want to turn America around. One way to do it, also after humbling yourself to God, is electing people who appear, by all intents and purposes, that they are trustworthy. Dan ran, I think it was in Maryland, the last election or election before. He lost by such a narrow margin. And I really think he has a chance this time. I know the only thing is he got in kind of late. But again, he, to me, exudes an example of somebody that I would like to see that would go in, that I would feel confident in saying, I think Dan is a pretty trustworthy guy from what I've seen, from what I've read about him, from what he said. I watch his Facebook Live streams every time. He does. For me, there's not a disingenuous bone in his body. Now, do I know him 100%? No. You're not going to know anybody 100%. But I think he comes as close as you can get without knowing somebody that exactly who they are. I think you come as close as you can get to saying, this person right here is the real deal. And I don't think he would be somebody that would go to Washington and change. I really don't. He's been to Washington. He's seen that. And hopefully, if everything is supposed to be that way, I hope Dan gets in. I really do. I've had him on my show. Great guy. Great book that he wrote. Tells it like it is. And if I were in Florida, man, I'd be voting for him. And I'm not in Florida. I can't. I'm stuck with California. God help us. And we really don't have any good candidates here to vote. I saw Kamala Harris. I think she's our U.S. Attorney General or whatever she is in California, whatever her title is. I don't even care to know. I really, not worth my time. But she was talking to the DNC, and I'm sitting here going, oh, dear God. This woman, she wants to be governor. She wants to be senator, president. I mean, she'll just keep going. And you look at her, and you're like, oh, man, everything about her just says, I can't vote for this woman. Not that I would anyway, she's Democrat. But I'm just saying, there are some people that you look at and you just know. And you listen to them for 5 seconds and you just know. And California, I don't know what we're going to do. But I do know the governor here, Jerry Brown. You know Jerry. Jerry's been around a long time. This is Jerry's last chance at being governor of California. Thank you, Jesus. He's termed out. But he's worried about Hillary. Yeah. See, Jerry got all in for the Democrat Party. He's been doing everything that Obama told him to do. And now he's worried that Hillary is just not going to make it. And a lot of people thought, that Jerry Brown might run for president. But I think Jerry decided that he was getting up there in years and that it was all going to be Hillary anyway and that he didn't have a chance, so he didn't try. Hopefully he wouldn't think about coming back in the future to doing anything like that. I hopefully there's not even a dog catcher position open in California for Jerry. But can you tell how much I like him? Gosh, can you tell? But across the country, we've got to start looking at our local elections. Because typically these people start there and then they start to worm their way up. And they just get bigger and bigger at what they do. And more support. And they do more and more damage as they go. And if we don't stop it at the root, then it just grows and it festers and it gets into a place that it's too late then. They've got too much support. They've played the system far too long. And everybody thinks, oh, well, I got to have this person. They're great. And again, those people who are not really listening, who sit around and just kind of turn on the TV every now and then to hear what's going on, they see snapshots of a person and go, oh, they look nice. They sound nice. Wow, I really like their uplifting message. It's so wonderful. Not knowing that everything is a lie. This uplifting message is done so that they can get your vote, and that's it. And they never hear about the damage and the destruction and what they've done in the past, because nobody mentions the past. We have to just move on like nothing ever happened. Looking at other news, I came across an article in the Washington Examiner, and it's called Democratic Youth Council Shows Why We Dislike Millennials. And I don't know if it's so much millennials that people dislike, or the fact that some millennials are so progressive these days. And why are they so progressive? Because they, quite frankly, have been taught to be so progressive. The Youth Council of the Democratic Party is what this article is referring to. When this woman, Sarah Adello, millennial vote director for Hillary for America, took the podium, she began her remarks with a bunch of rules, a tactic that has become typical of snowflakes on college campuses protesting everyone's free speech except their own. And that is true. I mean, you've been told by Black Lives Matter, all you white people get in the back because we don't want to mess up the message that we have here. We're coming in here to speak. You people can just be quiet. I mean, maybe going into restaurants, interfering with people's lunches, that type of thing. Squelching everybody else's free speech and what they're doing because what they're saying is so important. And by gosh, you need to listen. Anyway, Sarah says, I opened this space perhaps with a couple of ground rules. Isn't it funny, too? Millennials don't like rules. Kids today, and I guess it's probably all kids, but of all ages, but especially today, there are no rules really in a house anymore. People don't have chores. People don't have to do this and that and the other, for the most part. And I'm not speaking for you and your children. I know that you do. But in a progressive household, there are no rules. You do whatever you feel like you should do because you feel like doing it. But then they come out with the ground rules. That's hilarious. I opened the space perhaps with a couple of ground rules, she said. The first two rules were about working beyond the election and recognizing that everyone came for good reasons. But the third rule was very typical for millennials. One of the ground rules that I do in a lot of my trainings, oh my God, she teaches training, I guess what Hillary Progressive training for those who need to know how to be a progressive better than you already are. But anyway, one of the ground rules that I do in a lot of my trainings, maybe you all have heard this before, I love it, but it is, don't yuck my yum. Isn't that sweet? When you heard that, didn't you say, "Aw, that's so cute"? And if you're from the South, you may have said, "Oh, bless her heart." And if you're from the South, you understand what that means. But it says, for some of us, there are some things that are very yummy. And it hurts when people yuck on us. Oh, God. Did this come from Sesame Street? I really, where did this come from? So, for example, if one issue is my core issue and it's not yours, that's cool. It's my core issue. But don't yuck on my yum. That's cool. Oh, so really, isn't she just so cute? And it's yummy in her tummy. How old is this woman? It says the phrase "yuck my yum" basically means not to tell someone that what they like is bad simply because you don't like it. So, if you don't like, I don't know, seeing children running out in traffic, don't yuck somebody else's yum. Got it? Just because you don't like it doesn't mean other people don't like it. It says sometimes that "don't yuck my yum" can sometimes refer to food, quite literally. Don't tell me my food is gross, but also to sexuality. Now, Sarah went on to talk about the space she wanted to create for millennials in the room. We got to have a safe space, our own space that's separated from everyone else because we're different from everyone else and we should be treated differently and special than everyone else, that type of thing. She said she wanted to create a safe space for millennials in the room, something that didn't need to be said and came off as insolent and not very inclusive. Really? Since when do progressives really want to be inclusive? They want to be inclusive if you want to be progressive, but it ends there. If you don't want to go along to get along, then you can just move along because they don't want you. And they'll be sending you off to another room, okay? The person who wrote this said, it reminded me of campus protesters who barred allies from helping with their cause simply because they were not black or of the LGBT community. Yeah, so in other words, they can be racist, they can be homophobic, heterosexual phobic, whatever the case may be. It's okay for them, but it's not okay for you. You see, because their heart and their head is in the right place, but your way of thinking, it isn't. So you're more of a hindrance if you're trying to help, and if you're not LGBT or you're not black yourself, you're more of a hindrance. So we just want you to go someplace else. We'll give you a space. We're not going to give you a safe space because we don't care about your safety. But we're going to give ourselves a safe space, and you're not going to be in it unless you understand and agree with what we're doing. Now, she went on to say, this is the youth council space, and so I see lots of allies in the room, and you're certainly welcome to be here, and I'm excited that you're here. But isn't that cute? But we really want to use this space to create a space for millennials. And we just want millennials here. So if you're a certain age that doesn't qualify, we need for you to give up your space because it's really our space. I mean, if you were a millennial, you'd understand that. She says, for our 36 and unders, this is what we want the space for. We need that for them to talk about the issues that we're facing. And so if you're maybe not under the age of 36 and under, maybe let's just have a conversation afterwards. Do you remember, what was it? Oh my gosh, what was the name of that movie? It was Animal House with John Belushi. You remember that, when there was a party going on and they didn't want to tell these party goers, that you can't come. You're part of the sorority or the fraternity. Well, not really, but you'd like to be. You're kind of one of those outcast people. So when you come to the party, we're not going to tell you that we don't want you there. We're not going to tell you that you're not wanted. We're not going to treat you poorly. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a special space for you. It's called The Corner. And there are going to be people there that, just don't quite live up to our expectations. They're not the cool people. So we're going to walk you over to that corner and have you sit there while the rest of us cool people, the ones that really matter, we're going to be gathered in another room, having a good time talking to the other cool people. Don't bother joining us because we'll take you right back to the corner with the non-cool people. You remember that show. If you haven't seen that movie, Animal House, you got to watch it. It's hilarious. But here it is. Here's Animal House now. Come to the DNC, all right? So again, she wants to talk about the issues that they're facing. And so if you're not under the age of 36, if you're 37 and over, let's just have a conversation afterwards if there's time. Okay, if not, what you're saying is not important anyway. She said, again, we totally want to hear from you. But because as folks who are 36 and under, we so rarely get our own space, because the world cordons them off, right? They don't get their own space. They're not treated like everyone else. They're not human even, right? So every time that they can get together and create that space, wow, what an opportunity, what a great opportunity for them. These people are amazing. let me compose myself before I go on. Again, we totally want to hear from you, but because it's folks who are 36 and under, we so rarely get our own space. We very rarely get an opportunity to discuss the issues that are important to us. We're going to reserve this space for our 36 and unders. Is that okay with you folks? Because, if it isn't, what are you going to do? Really? Are you going to have people who are going to sit here going, I'm sorry, are you 38? Because I don't think you're supposed to be here. If you could just follow the rules. This lady up here was so kind in telling you what the rules are, but you're still here, and that's really, really, really annoying. Oh, my God. Let me take a selfie of our conversation. But I'm just going to put my conversation in here because, see, I'm 36 and under, and my conversation matters, but yours doesn't. So people, whether or not they wanted to be there, they're going to have to just get up and go. You're not going to be able to stay and listen. And it said there was some applause from the audience, of which 1/3 may have been older than 36. As a note, the Democratic Women's Caucus didn't say anything like this to keep men out. The Black Caucus doesn't say this to keep white people out, but millennials. One interesting thing that she mentioned was that Hillary campaign is offering paid positions for students on campus to mobilize for Clinton. And again, you better not be over 36 because we don't want you. She said, my team is going to be very mad at me for saying that, but I'm going to say it anyway. So if you want some fast cash, see me afterwards, or let's just talk about it here. I'll hook you up with the Clinton campaign over there, and you can get yourself some money. And she wasn't the only speaker at the council meeting that proved why millennials get a bad rap. Pennsylvania State Rep Brian Sims, now hopefully he was under 36, told those in the audience, about half of whom were still in high school, that I know that you're smarter than your parents. Oh, taken right out of the Al Gore playbook. You know all those times when you were younger or when your child was a teenager and they insisted they were smarter? He's telling them they were right. They're not. They're not smarter than you. You, because you're a teenager, you have experienced more in your short little life than your parents or your grandparents will ever experience. Yeah. He said, remind them that you have more access to information on your 18th birthday than your parents did until they were 37 years old. Ooh, 37. Shouldn't you have, wait, back it up there. Shouldn't you have said 36? Because we don't want to offend anybody that's 36 and under. It's okay to offend 37 and older, but watch out now. Watch out, Sims. Now, just having access to information isn't enough. It's what you do with that information that matters. It's what government, these are my words. It's what government manual you put them in to share with others. That's really important. So in other words, this is what the writer is saying now, the one who wrote the article. You're smarter than your parents just because you have access to Google at an earlier age. Our parents have life experience that has taught them what life is really like, how things really work, and that it's more than just having access to Wikipedia. Oh, come on now. No. All of that makes you a smarter person by just going to Google. And the Representative Sims went on to say, statistically, if you are under the age of 35, see, he's got to get it together because it's under 36, right? He has to get with Sarah and work that out and come back and give the right speech. Statistically, if you are a woman in the United States, statistically, he loves that word. If you are a person of color in the United States, you are significantly more empathetic than the straight white moral majority in this country. Woo! Speaking for you and me, isn't he? No. And it's time that we all behave that way because we're not born this way. Nobody is born more empathetic. This is what happens when you grow up around a straight, white patriarchy. Wow. Remember that name? It's Sims. If you're able to vote and you're not progressive, you'll want to get him out. My gosh. People, really. If I hear one more time that something is bad because it's white people said it, I think I'll scream. I'm really sick and tired of hearing it. I'm sure you are too. But I had to give you your fill of progressives today. I got my fill. I'm not going to watch any more than DNC. Hopefully, if I do, not too much. Until next time, have a great day. God bless you. Susan Knowles with Knowles on the News.